Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adrienne Keyser and I'm your over 50s fashion diva. Here on my channel we talk about fashion of course, but also beauty, lifestyle, travel, and anything trending in social media on any of those topics. So if you want to stay relevant over 50, you've come to the right place. Good evening, welcome. It's Saturday evening. I hope you all are doing well. So, hello, beautiful souls. Adrienne Keyser here, and welcome back to my live. Tonight, we are diving into something I've been planning for a solid year, a travel style soul check. And that's why you should think twice before me moving to Belize. So, this live stream completes the travel section of my channel. So, no sugarcoating and no filters. I hope you all had an opportunity to see my Sasantanich video from last week. So, I am trying to roll out a little bit more of the travel part of my channel. And very soon, I'll be bringing you the trending social media just trend things that are trending in social media when it comes to fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. So, all right, and I've got some goodies. I've got some good stuff coming up. So grab your drink, prosecco, your iced tea, or your glam mocktail. I've got mine this evening, and stick around because I'll be multitasking with my skincare routine. As you all know, I normally on my Saturday night lives, I always do my skincare routine at the same time. This is basically just a story time, excuse me, a story time live session. I'm going to try to wrap it up as quickly as I can, but I got a lot of information to give you. So I want to go ahead and dive right in, but I am going to be doing my skincare routine. And as you guys know, I always like to tell you what I'm going to do in advance. Let me try to get the videos up on all of my, here we go, on all of my other screens. I would do that in advance. I know I do this every time before during my live, but unfortunately, I'm unable to access it until the live has already begun. I don't know if that's just because I'm the creator, um, the author. I'm not sure, but I always need to take just a couple of minutes to pull up the video on my lives. On all of my screens so that I'm not missing anything. When it comes to comments, and also it gives me views on my channel. All right. So before we get started, I've got my iPad here. So these are the notes. I actually typed them up and wrote them better. Oh, this is not helping here with my light. But as you can see, I've been writing notes for quite some time to give you guys the goods on what it's like to live in Belize if you are thinking of moving to Belize, and make sure that you guys have all the information that you need to make an informed decision. And that also goes for traveling to Belize as well. I'm going to be talking about forgot to put the video up on the screen. I will be talking about some of the travel destinations of Belize. I have been to most of them. Belize is not a huge country, so you are able to drive it in a day from north to south, also east to west. I will say that I did not visit the West Coast. That is more closer to the mainland. I didn't visit that area as much. We went out that way a little bit, but we didn't stay out in that area. And also we did not go to the furthest southern point, which is Punta Gorda. We did not get to PG, and that was not necessarily by design. We didn't really have a need to go there. We felt that we had gotten enough information about that area that we didn't really feel that we needed to go there. We've met a ton of people from PG, but we did not go to that area. So just so you know. But outside of that, we've pretty much been to a lot of places in Belize, and we are going to talk about some of those places this evening. So I'm going to start off. Oh, let me grab my mirror so I can start putting my mask on. And we're going to jump into the first story. Okay, I am going to share my screen with you guys because it'll just make it easier for me to go through everything so that I don't have to keep flipping back and forth in between. I can just read it right off the screen. All right, so here we go. All right, I don't know why. Oh, that's from a comment section. I was like, why is that part grayed out? Okay, but that's okay. That little gray area in the bottom right-hand corner is my comment section. So if people drop comments, that's where it will be. So we are going to go ahead, and I already did my opening. So here's my little timeline, but we're going to go right into it. So the first place that we stayed was a place called was in the area of Placencia. Now, Placencia is in the southern part of the country. It's also the peninsula. So the peninsula of the country is an area that they call Placencia. Although there are lots of little villages along the way, the bottom area of the peninsula is called Placencia. So that's why most people call the peninsula Placencia. Say that 5 times fast, right? So that is the reason that a lot of people go to the peninsula or call it Placencia. And we stayed at a place called the Maya Beach Hotel. Now, the Maya Beach Hotel is in the village of Maya Beach, which is north of Placencia. So again, lots of little villages on your way down, and one of them is Maya Beach. We arrived in October, which is right at the tail end of their tourist season. Actually, tourist season is really more like in February. So it was no one there. So we basically had the hotel to ourselves, which was amazing. So we went there. It was amazing because we stayed on the top. It was like a dual apartment place. We stayed there for a month. It was like an amazing beach. The restaurant was incredible, but expensive. But later on, we went, and I don't know if they changed chefs, if they changed menus, and we'll talk about the owners here in a second. But the food wasn't as good as it was when we first arrived there. We also had multiple pools. One pool was like right at the bottom of our stairs, and that was our introduction to Belize. So it started off pretty incredibly, but we couldn't stay there. We knew we couldn't stay there longer than that, and ended up going to so we stayed there for a month and decided that we wanted to see more of the country before we embarked on where we were going to actually live. So we decided to go north, and we went north to the area of Corozal. So that is right below the Mexican border. It's basically the northern part of Belize. Now, I mean, Wait, before I finish there, let me just go ahead and finish telling you all about Placencia, because we stayed in a lot of different places and we went to Placencia a lot, but I don't want to keep hopping back and forth. So let me just finish off with Placencia. So we stayed in Maya Beach. That was amazing. We also stayed a little further south in an area called San Bite. That was really nice, except for the beaches, and we'll talk a little bit about the beaches as well. But the beach in that area wasn't as nice where we were staying. We had to kind of like walk along the beach in order to get to a nice area. But it did have a really nice gazebo area. Same with Maya Beach had a nice gazebo area. And we stayed in Placencia, which is further south, and that's sort of like the main village. That's where a lot of the restaurants are, a lot of the bars are, a lot of shops are. And we stayed in Placencia a few times. We stayed there for New Year's Eve. That was kind of fun. We stayed on the sidewalk, which, if you don't know, Belize has the longest sidewalk in the world, which is right there in Placencia. So that was really interesting to stay there, but it is a tourist area. So depending upon where you stay, it could be kind of loud. It could be very crowded. And depending upon what time of the year you go, it could definitely be crowded. So let's see. So that's really the peninsula. If you're going to go to the peninsula, you're going to want to stay outside of the peninsula, outside of Placencia, the actual area of Placencia. The airport is also right close to the village of Placencia, but try to stay a little further north of the airport. That's going to be your best bet, just because it's a little less crowded and you can get there by golf cart. Everybody rides golf carts in that area. So you can get there by golf cart. You can go all up and down the peninsula. We actually did go from the bottom to the top of the peninsula by golf cart. It can be done. So that's my suggestion, is if you're going to stay on the peninsula, stay in Maya Beach or stay in Saint Bite. Any further north than that, you are going to want to definitely have a car or a golf cart or some mode of transportation. There are very few restaurants. There are no stores. There was one store on the peninsula before you got into the village of Placencia. And the last time we were there, they were remodeling it. So I don't know what they're going to do about that, but that is the only store on the peninsula outside of the area of Placencia. So if you stay north of Placencia, you definitely want to have a golf cart, because you're not going to be able to eat. There may be a few restaurants along the way, but you're really going to eat down in Placencia if you're going to do it at all. Also, the sidewalk is really nice, but very, very pricey. It's got those tourist prices on it. So beware. The same thing with the food. The closer you get to Placencia, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. So just keep that in mind if you are going to do any shopping or any of that. It's going to be expensive. So that's pretty much about the peninsula. Now, what I wanted to say about the Maya Beach Hotel and the owners, they actually had just purchased the hotel in the February before we moved there in the October. And I was like telling them we were making our plans to leave, and they were also making their plans to leave. They had bought that hotel. It didn't work out for them. They were from the States and had come down to live there and work this property. They lived there, they worked there, and they were done. Like after the 2 years, they were like, we're out, we're done, we're going back to the States. So, all right. So that's just a little bit to tell you what it's like to own a business there. So keep that in mind, that it's not that easy to run a business in Belize. Everything is very complicated. Also, if you're going to live on the peninsula, you have to get your passport stamped every month. So you're going to have to go somewhere that has an immigration office, and Placencia doesn't. So you either have to like drive up the peninsula and drive back down south to Punta Gorda, or you can keep going north to Dangriga. I'm pretty sure has an immigration office. So just living on the peninsula is not the easiest. They do have a lot of properties there, most of them rental properties. Some of them are beautiful, beautiful properties that people rent as Airbnbs, but I'm sure that it's really tough to get people to rent on the peninsula. Again, for those reasons, there's only one store on the peninsula. It's really, hard to do any shopping. If you are staying further north in one of those beautiful houses, you have to drive all the way down south further to get to the store. And it's just a big pain in the butt to live on the peninsula. All right. So that's enough about the peninsula. After we lived in Maya Beach for a month, we went north. And I'm not putting my face mask on whatsoever. I apologize. Let me get that going. We went north and we decided to check out the area of Corazal. Now, Corazal, again, is the furthest point north before you hit Mexico. It's basically on the border. And we stayed there about 3 weeks, and everyone warned us that the waters in Corazal are not the same as they are everywhere else in Belize, basically, because you're on the bay, you're on the Corazal Bay instead of near the sea, the Caribbean Sea. And I was kind of surprised. It reminds me a lot of the waters on the East Coast. If you know, you know. It's not crystal clear blue water there on the bay, but people do swim in it. We definitely saw people swimming there. So there is that. But we decided not to stay in Corazal because we couldn't find a place, to be honest with you. We definitely looked, and of course I had to consider my son's schooling in the process. So we just couldn't find an actual place. If we found a place, we could have got him enrolled in school. We just couldn't find a place to live there. And we had a realtor involved. We talked to several different people. The place where we stayed, the guy was like a longtime local, originally from the States, but decided to buy a hotel and raise his family there, and probably still owns that hotel. I wish I could remember the name of it. But anyway, we tried to find a place. It just wasn't that easy. And we looked for 3 solid weeks. So the only thing I can say about Corazal is it's a very religious area, and that there's lots of shops there. There are lots of restaurants in the area. There were lots of things to do, like on the weekends. They had like a whole court area. Definitely check out my channel for any of my Belize videos. They're all up there. Just search Belize and you'll find them. But they had like a little court area where they had like lots of little food vendors out on the weekends, and everyone was always in church on Friday nights and on the weekends. Yeah, we just decided we didn't really care for that area and wanted to continue looking in other areas. But again, we had a really difficult time finding a place to stay. So then we ended up going back to Corazal. I mean, back to the peninsula. That's when we stayed in Saint Bite. Oh wait, no, we went to Key Caulker. I forgot. We also went to Key Caulker. Now, Key Caulker is one of the keys or islands of Belize. And we stayed in Key Caulker right before a hurricane. We were supposed to stay there for 3 days before we went back to the peninsula, but because of the hurricane, or oh no, that was before we went to Corozal. But anyway, so we were supposed to stay in Keycocker for 3 days before we went to Corozal, but because of the hurricane, we ended up going a bit early. So here's the deal with Keycocker. So again, it is one of the keys, and what you need to know about the keys is that they are landlocked. So they are surrounded, and there's no beach, and we'll talk a little bit about the one beach that there is, which is in San Pedro. We'll get to there, but that was a little surprising to me. I didn't realize that there was no beach. But what I would say about Key Caulker is it's very touristy, a ton of tourists. People love to go to Key Caulker. It's a place where you can do a lot of boating activities, a lot of snorkeling, all the water activities you can think of, you can do in Key Caulker. What Key Caulker is kind of known for is they have a lot of hostels and places for backpackers to stay because again, it's a very touristy area. So that's what Key Caulker is about. So things are pricey, but you can find affordable places to stay there. Um, as far as living, because everywhere we went outside of the tourist areas and went into the actual villages where people lived that worked at all these resorts and restaurants and hotels and all the things. So what I remember about Key Caulker is I don't recall seeing a lot of people selling property there. If anything, there were maybe some people selling like the Airbnb properties. There are definitely some retirees that live there, but they live more in the beach areas. So I don't really know that much about the housing, and we're going to talk about someone that does know all about the housing market during this video. I promise you, if you want to know about housing market, I'm going to tell you the guy to talk to. Okay, so Key Caulker, okay, it's it picks but I don't know. Let's just say they were met. Yeah. So the beaches, yeah. So there is no beach. Again, there's like little areas outside of your hotel that you can hang out, but there's no like I'm walking from the sand into the water. There's none of that at Key Caulker. And for the most part, the same with San Pedro or Ambergris Key as it is called. So not too much to say about Key Caulker. It does have a boat dock as well as the airport's in San Pedro, but you can get to Key Caulker from the San Pedro airport by boat. And yeah, so Key Caulker is again, there are the high end hotels and things like that, and the tourist prices for everything, restaurants, even the sidewalk vendors can be a little bit pricey. So, just keep that in mind. Everything is just going to be that tourist price. And it seems like you're getting a deal because it's 2 to 1. So $2 to $1. American to Belizean dollar. So you always feel like you're getting a deal, but trust and believe it's pricey. So what else can I say about Key Caulker? Again, you can find very affordable housing in Key Caulker, not so much in San Pedro, but definitely in Key Caulker. They've got a lot of places for the backpackers and all that stuff. So that's really what you want to know about Key Caulker. The big thing about Key Caulker is the laughing lizard is sort of the area where everyone goes and hangs out. It's a big area, but the pricing at that restaurant was so egregious that I was like, no way. I didn't even buy a drink there. It was so expensive. I was like, nope, nope, I can find better. But it is the place where all the tourists go. People love the Laughing Lizard, and that whole area around it. But yeah, Key Coker's pretty small, and it was nice. We enjoyed our time there. We stayed in a very, very small place, but again, we were only there for 2 days. The place was small. It didn't even have a TV in it. So, again, we had our electronics, so we were fine. But just so you know, there are affordable places in Key Cocker. So the other island or key is San Pedro, Ambergris Key. Now, that is what people go to Belize for. If you know, you know. If you've heard anybody talk about their trip to Belize, it's probably going to be about San Pedro. Now, I went to San Pedro for my birthday. We spent 10 days, I think, in San Pedro. What I found interesting about San Pedro is you can get golf carts in Key Cocker and pretty much in all of the tourist areas on the peninsula, that kind of thing. But in San Pedro, you actually have to put gas in your golf cart, which I thought was really interesting. So just a little note, if you do go to San Pedro and you get a golf cart, you will have to buy gas. And gas in Belize is shockingly expensive. I'm talking shockingly. It was, I think, 1370 Belizean, which was like six something, almost $7 US. It was very, very expensive. But the good thing is that the golf cart doesn't take much gas. You know what I mean? I think we went on a full tank for like those 10 days and we rode it everywhere. The thing about San Pedro is it's very crowded. They have amazing places to stay. This is my mask on my hand, by the way. Sorry. Amazing places to stay, amazing places to eat. We had the time of our lives. The place that we stayed, I'm still going to make a video on it, so I don't want to give too much away, but we stayed at a really amazing place. The beginning of the video got cut out, and so it kind of devastated me, so I ended up not editing that video because I was just so devastated. I didn't know how to start the video, but my San Pedro video will be coming soon, I promise. But we stayed at an amazing place. We met great people. Everyone was super nice. The food was good, and we'll talk more about food, but the food there was really, really good. And also, everywhere that we stayed in San Pedro, the food was really good. And we went to San Pedro a couple of times. What can I say? Again, it's all bulkheaded, so there is no beach. There's a little bit of a beach down near the boat dock, but outside of that, it's pretty bulkheaded. So, and also by the boat dock, they have this enormous slide. Again, video coming soon, that I didn't actually get to go on because I didn't feel like treading out to the water just to climb up this. I mean, we're talking like 15 feet in the air high. I was like, no, I'm not feeling it. But I definitely got some video of my son and our new friends doing it. So that was really fun. They've got great shops there. As far as property, if you want to buy property, that's the place you're going to want to buy property. If you're going to buy property, San Pedro and specifically Secret Beach is going to be the place where you're going to want to buy property. Now, Secret Beach is the one place in San Pedro I didn't get a chance to go. And there's a reason for that. The road to get to Secret Beach is a tiny, narrow dirt road surrounded by water, no railings. It's enough for two golf carts to pass each other. That's it. And that's 45 minutes you have to drive just to get to Secret Beach. I was like, we attempted it. I have a fear of driving into water. If you saw my Sasanchinic video, you'll know. And so I got 10 minutes in and said, no way, I can't do it. I turned around and went right back. I was like, this is madness. This is absolute madness. Now, the other way to get there is by boat, but I wasn't trying to rent a boat just to get to the beach. That was crazy. So eventually they will have the infrastructure because they are really building up Secret Beach like crazy. Now, if you want to know about property in Secret Beach, the guy to know is Will Mitchell here on YouTube. Check out his channel. He has been a longtime resident of Belize, San Pedro specifically, Ambergris Caye specifically, and he's a realtor, works for Remax, and he knows his stuff. He knows that country inside and out. And if you decide to live in a different area other than Secret Beach or Ambergris Caye, he can refer you because Remax is all over Belize. So if you're going to buy property, that's the guy to know. He does amazing videos on Belize. He has done videos all over the country. If you want to know the ins and outs of any area of Belize, go to his channel. I promise you he has a video on it. From Punta Gorda to Corozal, Will has covered that country. And he does it with amazing videography. He's really funny. He's, he's got his crew that go out with him. He's got, the aerial shots he does, the boat. He has his own boat. He has his own truck. Will is the man. If you want to know about Belize, go to Will Mitchell's channel. I checked out Will's channel even before I moved to Belize. And the thing about Will is on his channel, it's not just about kind of vlogging and giving you the lay of the land of the country. He gives you data. Actual data, numbers on the properties in San Pedro, in Secret Beach. He breaks it down. He shows you the properties. He gives you the numbers, what it's like if you want to buy to live there, what it's like if you're going to buy to rent properties there. Will Mitchell is the man. I promise you, if he doesn't have it on his channel, then it's not in Belize. Okay. He's even done a few videos in I can't think of the name right now. The country that's right above in it'll come to me. Anyway, the area in Mexico where you can get a boat into Mexico to go to all of the big box stores, and we're going to talk about that as well. He's done a few videos in that area as well. So Will Mitchell, that's your guy. Okay, now here on my list, I'm talking about sandflies. So now the sandflies were rough in Placencia. It was brutal. I left there with the worst bug bites ever. It doesn't matter what bug spray you put on, and cosmetics are extremely expensive there, especially bug spray, especially in the tourist areas. You're going to be shocked. But the sandflies were on another level. And it wasn't until I lived in country. I lived in Belmopan, which is the capital city. I lived there for months before I got rid of all the sandfly bites. I mean, it is rough. And anybody that you see in the beach in Placencia, you're going to see them covered in sandfly bites. And at first I thought it was mosquitoes. I was like, no, this isn't mosquitoes. I'm a girl from Maryland. I know mosquitoes. I was like, no, it's the sandflies. So just wanted to let you know that. Okay, what else do I want to say here? Now, talking a little bit more about my experience. Let's cross off some of these things that we've already talked about so I don't get confused here. All right, we talked about Placencia. Let's just get that off the list. We'll just kind of highlight it. We talked about the sandflies. Ooh, it was brutal. The sandflies were brutal. All right, we talked about San Pedro a little bit. Oh, I didn't talk about the reef. So, in San Pedro, they boast that they have the second largest coral reef in the world next to Australia, the Big Barrier Reef. And they do. That is very true. But just like all the reefs in the world, it's dying just as much as all the other reefs. So the place where we stay, I'm not going to give it away, but we had a really good look into the water of the coral there, and you could just see it's not as vibrant. There's hardly any color left to it. It's pretty whited out, so just so you know, if you go to San Pedro, that's the big attraction to San Pedro and to Belize, is for snorkelers to go and see the reef, and also to go to the Great Blue Hole, which we did not do, and I'll tell you why. But that's another thing about San Pedro is, it's got the reef there, as well as the Great Blue Hole. Now, the Great Blue Hole is also a big, huge attraction. You can get there by boat. It's expensive. It's super expensive to go to the Great Blue Hole, but I was willing to do it. However, I took my son to a waterfall, and after I saw how he reacted to the fish swimming around his feet, I'm like, I'm not spending that kind of money for you not to get into the water. So we were going to go to the Great Blue Hole. I had every intention of doing it, but since my son, I knew, was going to kind of chicken out and getting into the water, I was like, it's just not worth it. But they do have like a sandbar there where you can kind of walk out into and see like the depths of the hole. And I just knew he wasn't going to be up for it. So I was like, nah, forget it. But that is the big attraction to San Pedro, is amazing place for snorkelers. You could go out to the Great Blue Hole, get your snorkel gear out, and just check it out. I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing to do. Unfortunately, I did not get to do it. But all the reviews, people say, that it was an incredible experience. And make sure that before you book your trip, that you know who you're booking it with. I would go with one of the places that are there in Placencia, only because you might be able to get a better rate than you would if you went through like Expedia or TripAdvisor or something like that. So I recommend trying to see what is available on the beach and then price compare before you book your trip. Like, don't book that trip before you go. Does that make sense? So wait until you get there, then book that trip. There's always boats that go out there, so it's not like you're going to miss out unless there's a hurricane or something like that. But yeah, definitely check that out. And the reef, if you're into snorkeling, that's the place to do it. People come from all over the world to go to San Pedro and see the reef. So that is the big thing about San Pedro. I don't know how I missed telling you about the most important parts of San Pedro, My bad. But that's why I wrote all these things down, because I knew I would forget some things. Okay, so we talked about Key Calker. Let's see. Is there anything else? All right. So let's talk a little bit about my actual experiences of what it was like to live there. Now, I am a girl from the States. I've lived in the States all my life. So living in Belize was a new thing for me. And I had never been to Belize, never even went there on vacation before we decided to move there. Now, the reason we decided to up and move to Belize, I have a video on that here on my channel as well. I'll try to put links to this video in after the live stream if I can remember. But there the reason that we decided to move to Belize was because we wanted to leave. I wanted to leave the States. Not we, my son had nothing to do with it. I wanted to leave the States. And that's a long story, but we decided to go to Belize because their first language is English. And I was not interested in learning a whole new language in order to move to a new country, but I knew I wanted to move to a new country. All right. How are we doing on time? We're 40 minutes in. Okay. Oh boy. So when we decided to move there, we did all the travel. We first stayed in Placencia. Then we stayed a couple days in Key Calker, went to Corozal for 3 weeks. We went back to the peninsula. This is all trying to find places to live, mind you. We went back to the peninsula because someone said that they could find us a place. We stayed in Saint Bite for about 10 days. And then while we were in Corozal, someone had said that they had this place that I was like obsessed with. The person had contacted me and said that they might have something available, but we had already made plans to go back to the peninsula. So while we were in the peninsula, we solidified the apartment in Belmopan. Now, again, Belmopan is the capital city. It's inland. It's kind of in the middle of the country, to be honest with you. So the nearest beach is Belize City. And we never went to the Belize City beach. I know that's for no reason other than the fact that we could hop on a bus and go to Placencia, which was a nicer beach. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I've never been to the Belize beach, so I shouldn't say it's that Placencia is nicer, but I know it's a lot more area than the beach in Belize City. But Belmopan, again, it is the capital. And because it's the capital, we did have some advantages. For example, our immigration office, you could get your passport stamped for 3 months instead of going every single month. And, like the power plants were there, things like that. So, like we would get power outages every month without fail. Without fail. I think in the 2.5 years that we lived there, there was maybe 2 or 3 months that we didn't have a power outage, and that was that was shocking. Like, you just expecting it. You never know when it's going to happen. You're just there, and it just happens. And several times it happened in the middle of my lives. If you go and look at any of my lives, I think there was one that was a Fashion Week live. There was a movie live. I think it happened at least 3 times I was on live and the power would go out, or it went out before my live stream started. So I started hours late. It was a nightmare to have to deal with that every single month. And you're just powerless. You just are sitting there, and Belizeans are used to that. I'm not used to that. So I would get frustrated. Like, I think the first year wasn't like that horrific, but year 2, I was just like, I can't take this. It's too much. Year 2, after year 2, I was like, we got to start making our exit strategy, because this is too horrific to kind of live with that, because they get their power from Mexico, which I wasn't aware of until I lived there. And so when you're, especially if you're living out on any of the Keys or in Placencia or like a really far distance, like it could be out for days. It could be out for hours. When we were staying in Placencia, someone was drunk and hit a power pole. It was out for 6 hours. That's like no air conditioning, no lights, no nothing for 6 hours. And that was just because they had to get the trucks all the way out there, assess the situation. And it was just horrible, horrible, horrible. There were times when we were actually in the hurricane and we didn't lose power, which was kind of surprising. But let's see. I mean, yeah, just having to deal with that on a monthly basis was really too much. I was like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And so I like to let people know that when you are going to buy a property or live there or any of those things, just know you are going to experience a power outage. We actually went to Placencia once. We were just there on a beach day, and we had taken the bus down and decided to go to barefoot. Yeah, barefoot. You'll know if you've been to Placencia. I mean, yeah, if you've been to Placencia, you'll know barefoot. We went to barefoot for lunch and didn't realize that there was no power because we were just on the beach all day, and had went ordered our food, ate our food, and then the waiter's like, well, we have no power. I was like, what? Because we had actually ordered a salad. So that just made sense, because otherwise they probably would have said, yeah, we can't heat nothing up, or maybe they had gas. I don't know. But yeah, so I was like, well, I don't have any cash. Like, what do you want me to do? Thankfully, there was a bank machine that was operable and I was able to get cash. But I'm telling you, if you go there on vacation, ugh, such a pain in the butt, the power outages. Let's see. Now, shipping to Belize, another absolutely archaic situation. We figured it out. It took us a while to figure it out. We were shipping things through Hyde Shipping, which is the company that we used in order to ship our possessions to Belize. But it was so expensive, like ridiculously expensive. And I also have a video about that. It's tied into an Amazon haul, but yeah, I give you the breakdown about shipping. I haven't done that video either. I'm going to edit that video, but I have a whole entire video about what it's like to ship to Belize. We finally figured out Belizean Queen is the way to go if you are living in Belize and you need to get things shipped in through Amazon or a friend or a package of any kind. Belizean Queen is the way to go. Not only are they the quickest, they are the cheapest, and they deliver it directly to your house. Now, let's talk about that because that's also on my list, is just the mail situation there is unusual as well. Like if I were to send someone a letter from the States to Belize, it would still take about 3 weeks to get there. And then it'll go to the post office that's closest to you. And then that postal office will deliver it to your house. But there's no mailboxes. Some places don't even have like an actual address. A lot of places are just known as like, oh, it's next door to, this store, or it's next door to this restaurant, that kind of a situation. That's how people know how to find things. The GPS situation also, I think that's on my list, hopefully. Yeah, okay, so that's on my list. We'll get there as far as what it's like to rent a car or rent a golf cart. Whole other situation. All right. Again, I'm going to cross off some of these things. Now, I ended up not doing any of the stuff I was going to do, which is common here on my lives. I should just go ahead and take a break and wash this off really quick before we get into the rest of what I need to talk about. We did talk about will already, but I do want to talk a little bit about the property traps. So we'll get into the rest of this. I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break just to get this off and get started on the rest of my skincare. So 5 minutes and we'll be back. Take time to use the restroom if you need to, grab another drink, and I'll be right back. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for waiting. That feels amazing to get this off. Okay. Now, what I should have started this video telling you guys is I have a story. I'm going to wait till the end to give you the craziest story you have ever heard in your life. I would love to know your opinions about it. So I'm going to definitely ask you guys to drop some comments on it. All right. Now I was going to do my LED mask, which I probably will still do, but I'll do it after because me trying to give you story time and doing my LED mask simultaneously doesn't sound like it's going to be a good idea. So I'm just going to use this Neutrogena triple acting toner here just to make sure I get all the mask off. All right. Now, let's go back to what it was like living in Belize. I will tell you that there were several times that there were stray animals that would just show up at our place. When we first moved to our apartment, which was an amazing apartment, I love that apartment. Um, it wasn't fenced in, and so like all kinds of critters would get into our yard. And a few times I would come out of my apartment and there would be horses in our yard, not just cats and dogs, horses. I don't know how they got out, but they would come like for months. They would just show up and graze in our grass. And a few times I would take water out to them. So that was kind of interesting. Um, and I will say that, the landscaping in Belize is not at all like the landscaping in the States. There were times that we would have grass that was up to my hip high, and no one batted an eyelash at that. And most people did let their grass get really, really high before they cut it. So just know that if you do buy a property or live next to someone that, it could be a while before they cut their grass. And I just have a thing about that because I'm like, the higher the grass, the more the critters. And we had definitely seen snakes, huge spiders, all kinds of stuff. So, really high grass just freaks me out. Um, let's see. Oh, Michelle Kwan, if you did not know, is the U.S. ambassador in Belize. I thought that was very interesting. That a figure skater is the ambassador, but whatever, she was always there. You would always see her in the media doing meet and greets, doing ribbon cuttings, and just kind of spreading awareness on certain social situations like the education and things like that, which we're also going to talk about. Yeah, and let's see. So as far as the people, like we met a lot of nice people. Mostly, like my son's friends' moms, those were most of my friends. So I had very little social life in Belmopan. And, they had some lounges and things like that, but there wasn't a ton of things to do. Like there would always be some activities, occasionally like a holiday or something like that. But, as far as like, let's get together with the girls and go on a shopping spree or go on a spa day, or there wasn't any of that. So it got to be a little bit lonely at times. It was, again, just mostly me and my son. So, and what I will say is the locals in the tourist areas all emulate what they think Americans are like. So they sort of dress the way they think young American women dress. They sort of speak the way young American girls speak, or Americans speak. And I found that very interesting. And I found that, they were kind of had that same selfish attitude that I was leaving the States because of. And I found that a lot in the tourist areas, especially in San Pedro. Some of the people were not very nice. Now, if they are serving you, they are the sweetest people you'll ever meet because they want that tip. But like in their everyday lives and interactions, yeah, they were not that nice. A lot of them were very lazy. We saw quite a few, just people hanging out and being lazy, and no one is like really a go-getter. Like they're most of the people that I met, like their one goal was to go to the States. I was like, okay, I get that. But they wanted to all, move to the States. I'm like, the States is very expensive. I don't think you realize. Like, I left because the States were so expensive. And, no one like, you never met anybody that's like, oh, yeah, I've got like 3 jobs and I'm working to build a house. It's like people are like, they're very complacent in the jobs that they have. And they're not like, at least a lot of the people that I met, they didn't have like a lot of ambition to do like great things. But again, that was just the few people that I met. Not everyone is that way. There were definitely some people that strive to do better, that are in college, that want to, do all the things. But if they do, their goal is really to get out of Belize. Most people that are educated and have money usually try to leave Belize. So, but then they try to come back and they still have family here, and they might come back to buy property in Belize, to have rental property to make more money, that kind of a thing. But yeah, if they've got money, they try to leave Belize. Let's see. They also have no franchises. There are no franchises at all in the country of Belize. There's no McDonald's. There's no Burger King. There's no, oh, the one that everyone was like asked when I first came back home. And I was like, yeah, they don't have these things here. People are like, there's no Chick-fil-A. I'm like, no, there's no Chick-fil-A. And people were horrified. Yeah, there's no Target, Kohl's, Costco, big box stores, none of that. Everything is locally owned. Um, and that's what the businesses are. Unless you are doing a rental property there, your business that you go to is going to be Belizean owned, guaranteed. To get a business license, and from what I have heard from a Belizean, it's very, very complicated. And then once you do get a business license, it's very expensive, and they are on you for every little thing. I think that a lot of the reason that the people in Maya Beach Hotel left was just the red tape of everything that they had to deal with as far as running the hotel. Also, the hotel had significant problems, and they were just shelling out money, shelling out money, shelling out money, and having to leave the peninsula every month to go and get their passport stamp, So I get it. I totally get it. So if you wanted to go to like McDonald's or something like that, why am I not thinking of it? Because I've got Cancun in my head, and I know that that's not it. Oh, I cannot think of it right now. But the place where you go, you can get a boat from either San Pedro or Corozal. But if you're in Corozal, you can just take a boat. I mean, take a car over the border into Mexico, and they have all the box stores there. They've got a Costco there. They've got a Target there. They have a McDonald's there. Oh, Chetumal. Chetumal is the name of the place that I'm talking about. So if you know Chetumal, then it's like very far south in Mexico and hits the border of Belize. So that is where you can go if you live in Belize and you want to go to Target and you want to go to McDonald's. Then you can take a boat, or you can take a bus, or a car, to Chetumal. We never got a chance to go to Chetumal. That's a story for another day. But I was trying to take my son for his birthday, and he acted out, so we ended up not getting to go to Cheddar Mall. But I was like, you know what, we're going to be back in the States, in 6 months, so there's nothing that we really need in Cheddar Mall, and we can wait until we get back to the States to go to McDonald's, because that's all he really wanted to do was go to McDonald's, to be honest with you. So that you can find in Cheddar Mall. But okay, so now as far as the education system, of course, my son did go to two different schools there in Belize. There were, and we also looked into schools in several different areas while we were looking for places to live, because if they didn't have a school nearby, because I didn't have a car, that would have been a problem. So, of course, we looked into the school system. Now, they say that they follow a curriculum that's between what they teach in the UK, because in case you didn't know, they are still run by the UK, even though they gained their independence. They are still part of the Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth. So they are still part of British Commonwealth under British rule, so to speak. But where was I going with that? So the curriculum is between, they say, is between the UK and the US curriculum. Now, when I told you earlier that English is the first language, it is, but it isn't. They have a Creole that they speak, and everyone speaks it there, including the teachers. So my son ended up adopting Creole just so that he could fit in with the other kids, but he spoke regular English at home. So, you know, since they're not getting like the standard English, because they're not teaching it in that way. I mean, everyone speaks Creole. Um, like I said, including the teachers, the principal, everything. Everyone speaks Creole. So they're learning in Creole. They are also, for the most part, have some type of religious aspect. If it's not a Catholic school, because most of the public schools are Catholic schools, then if they aren't, then they at least do prayer every day and teach them a little bit about prayer. So there is that. Now, we also looked into private schools. They have an amazing private school in Belmopan. We didn't live that far from it. So, of course, I went to explore, find out a little bit more about it. It was an amazing school, and I knew if I sent my son there that he would get an education that was definitely on par with a US based curriculum. It was also air conditioned, which most of the schools are not air conditioned. My son, he got used to it, but I think it was a bit of a shock in the beginning. Um, and the private school was more expensive than my rent. And I just could not justify it. I mean, it was, I think, 1,800 US a month. Let me say that again, 1,800 US a month for that private school. But it was a good school. It was a good school. All right, so let's cross some of these things off because we're coming to the end here. Oh, by the way, this is the Neutrogena oil-free acne stress control. I use that thing like every couple of months just to really get a deep clean, because it says that it's a triple action toner. So to get a really deep clean, that's what that was. All right, so here we go. We talked about the landscaping, the animals. What does it say? Stray dogs are running in the local council. No lie. All right, Michelle Kwan. We talked about the lazy social life, the education system. We talked about the fast food. Oh, they did try Subway, having a Subway there. in Belize, they kind of franchised it out throughout the country, but it didn't do well. And I think a lot of the reason has to do with the way that things are shipped into the country. Everything comes into the country by boat. They don't make anything there. The only thing that they make there is sugar, beer, wine, and that's it. That's the only things that they make in Belize. So everything is shipped in. Most of the food there is shipped in the grocery stores, the restaurants, all the things. Even the local market, they go into Mexico to get the produce to bring it down for the weekly market. So, yeah, where was I going with that? Oh, good Lord. What was I talking about? The education system. Oh, the Subway. So, yeah, so they did try Subway and it just didn't work out very well. So, they got rid of that and they never tried to introduce another franchise into the country since then. So, and the other thing I want to tell you was a crazy story about my son's principal. Actually, called me one day and told me that my son had kicked a soccer ball so hard that it cracked her windshield. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of harsh. Like, that, okay. I was like, can she explained the story to me. I was like, well, I don't know what you want me to say about that. I was like, can you send me pictures of it? And so she sent me a picture of it. You guys, this crack was across her entire windshield. Like, it was clearly not new damage. It was not new damage. And I asked her, I was like, so how is it that he was kicking a soccer ball and it hit your car? She was like, oh, well, I was parked on the side of the school. I pulled my car in next to, my office so I could load it up with something. And the kids were outside playing. I'm like, well, what did you expect to happen? And I was like, and I'm going to tell you something. I've had many a car in my day. I've even had a cracked windshield in my day. And yeah, that's not new damage, my dear. I was like, no windshield cracks all the way across, spider webs across your windshield like that. That's crazy. And so, yeah. But I just had a few incidents with teachers. I guess we can go back to that. I definitely had some incidents with some educators while we were there. Like the first school he went to, they would never get back to me. And I was trying to explain to them that, he has special needs. My son is on an IEP. He's has certain, he has ADHD. So, he needs certain tools in order to help him. They would never respond to me, never get back to me, nothing. And I was like, okay, that's it. Like, I'm not going to let you go another school year in this school where they don't even communicate with me about anything. Like, there was not even a teacher thread, letting us know what was happening with the kid. It's a mess. Oh no, there was a thread, but even when I reached out to the teacher on the thread, like, he would just never respond back to me. It was very frustrating. So then the second school that he went to, his first teacher was great. His second teacher, because he was only there, a few months, she was also really, really nice. His first teacher at that school had a background in special needs education, so that was really helpful. She was also really nice, reached out to me whenever she had questions, and I could reach out to her. She was amazing. It was the principal and I that did not get along. We had a couple of run-ins together, but neither here nor there. So if you are thinking of moving there and you've got the means, I would recommend a private school if you can foot the bill for that. I met someone at the immigration office that had 6 kids and they were all in the private school. I'm like, how are you affording that? He was a teacher. I was like, okay, because $1,800 a month, that blew my mind. So I had no idea how he was able to afford that. But when he told me he was a teacher, I was like, okay, that all makes sense. All right. So let me get a little bit into car rentals. Now, I did not have a car, and occasionally I would need to rent a car. And in my area, there were two car rental places. There was one car rental place that was literally on my street. I could walk to it. He never had cars available. He only had maybe two or three cars in his fleet, and they were always rented out. And people were renting them like by the week to go to work. So he never had a car available. So I went to another place, and this place, the cars were so bad. They were in such horrible conditions. Like, he rented me a car, speaking of cracked windshields, that had a crack along the windshield, like across the whole windshield. Like, it was in my line of sight the entire time driving. And there was one time that the windshield wiper stopped working in the middle of a rainstorm while I was driving. Like, the cars were not new, and there are no real new cars there. Like, there's a Tesla factory in Belmont, so they have the ability to buy a new car, but most people can't afford to buy a new car because there's no payment plans for cars. So when you buy a car, you just buy it outright. There's no bank loans or anything like that for a car. So most people are driving used cars that they've gotten from wherever they live, or they drive into Mexico to get a car. If you see a new car, it could more than likely be an American that drove their car and is living there. And like I said, they drove their car there. But yeah, you don't see a lot of brand new cars. That's rare. And if you do, like I said, they go into certain areas, and there are some car dealerships here and there that sell new cars, but for the most part, most people have a used car. um so that means that, like, oh, this is the story that I want to tell. So I was at immigration, and this guy was telling me that this woman had rented a car and was on her way to the airport and was going to drop the car off at the airport. It caught on fire on the way to the airport. She missed her flight and ended up having to go to immigration to renew her passport in order to book another flight. Like, I'm like, that's so, just no. And the same thing with, like, the car rental companies. Like, most of the car rental places, there's very few cars, and they're not going to be new cars. There's not going to be any GPS systems and all the, oh no, there's none of that, because they don't even have, like, internet along the highway. So there's no point of having a GPS in the car. So most of the cars don't even have that. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, renting a car definitely was a thing. Now, if you're in a tourist area and you rent a car, of course they're going to have much nicer cars. And also the golf carts. We rented golf carts that were bummy as hell, especially in Placencia. I'm not going to say the name, but we definitely rented some bummy golf carts in Placencia. So look for a more reputable golf cart company and check out what they look like. Do they look new? Do they look fresh? Then you want to go with that, because the last thing you want is to be broken down somewhere. Especially if you're drunk at night coming home from a bar, you're in a golf cart and you break down. So that's what I'm gonna say as far as rentals. Now, the big platform as far as social media goes in Belize, it's all about Facebook. Everybody has a Facebook page. All the businesses have Facebook pages. You see Facebook everywhere. And that's not to say that people don't use other social platforms. I'm just saying the majority of the businesses all advertise their business on Facebook. I thought that they had something like Yelp. Even I thought that you could even do Yelp there. You can't. They don't participate with Belize. Like, Yelp and Belize, they don't participate. And the thing that I found out in a very harsh way is it's the same thing with YouTube. Also does not participate with Belize. I have been busting my ass all of 2024 to get monetized, only to find out that I couldn't as long as I still lived in Belize, which was another reason that we decided to leave. I was like, if I can't get monetized here, what am I doing here? Um, I know another thing is like their like streaming services are also very limited. There's no Hulu. You can get Netflix, um, but there's no Showtime, Cinemax, all those things. So that was really rough. You could definitely get YouTube, and a few other streaming services. I think maybe just YouTube and Netflix. Now that I'm thinking about it, um, even with ExpressVPN, even with the like a VPN service, you still were unable to access certain streaming services. So that was also extremely frustrating. All right. Now we're coming up on my final things that I'm going to tell you about Belize. Oh, I'm on the wrong page here. Here we go. Let me just highlight and get these off. Before we wrap this up, is about food and passports. Okay. So as far as food goes, like I said, everything is shipped in. So if you think that you're going to get like that frozen pizza that you've been loving and you're going to get it again, you probably won't. As soon as they are gone, it could be several months before they get your favorite frozen pizza back or whatever it is. It could be bagels, it could be anything. Now, if you want to buy US brands, it's going to cost you. They don't have party sizes. So like if you want chips, don't think you're gonna get a big bag of chips. You're gonna get a regular size bag of chips, and they're gonna charge you like $16, like $8 for that thing, $8 US for that bag of chips. All the food is really again, it's more expensive than you think just because you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to this country where everything is cheap. No, the food is not cheap because everything is shipped in. Belize doesn't make anything. So anything in the grocery stores, anything in the restaurants, any food that you buy anywhere is going to be more expensive than you think. Um, so I learned to economize. I was very good at it. Even the produce at the weekly market was really high. I mean, could spend $50 easily on just fruit, on just my fruit. So I could get like all my fruit for $50 and then all the rest of my produce and meat and everything else with the other $50. You know what I mean? It was crazy expensive. So that was a little frustrating. And also like the foods that Belizeans make for themselves, like if you go to a Belizean restaurant and you want a Belizean dish, their big claim to fame is stewed meats. They do a lot of stews. And that's just not really my thing. I don't like stewed meat, but you can get stewed chicken, stewed beef pretty much anywhere. And yeah, over rice, over eggs, over beans. Of course, there is a lot of the Mexican influence, but even for a place that is so close to Mexico, like I feel like they are lacking in the spices. I feel like they need a whole course on how to spice your food, how to season food appropriately, because everything always seemed like it was really bland, unflavorful. Like a lot of restaurants you would go to and you would be disappointed in the dishes, especially in Belmopan. Now, you go to the tourist areas, if you find a restaurant that has a good chef, you might get a good meal. In the beginning, Maya Beach Hotel, they had amazing food. But we couldn't eat there a lot because it was so expensive. Like the few times we ate there, I think we ate there the first week or something. I was like, oh no, we can't do this anymore. We got to go to the store and start making food. And we did have an apartment there, which was nice. So we could make our own food. But yeah, if you're going to live in Belize, just know everything is expensive. Toilet paper, paper towels, all the bare necessities are going to be expensive. Um, oh, and the pizza. How do you make bad pizza? I couldn't find a good slice of pizza anywhere. And everyone's like, oh, but this place has the best pizza. No, they didn't, because I went there and it was terrible. All the pizza was always undercooked. They undercook their pizza. So there's no crispiness. All the toppings just like the pizza. Like we went to several places to get pizza. I'm like, how? How do you have bad pizza? Which is why I mentioned the frozen pizzas. I remember when our store got Red Baron pizza for a couple of months, I was in heaven. Like I bought like 8 pizzas at a time. I was like, I am not running out of pizzas. So yeah, there were a few times also water bottles. You can order those tanks for your house and have one of those water dispensers for your house, and you can find a place that will deliver them for you. I was like, I'm not doing all that, because then I'd have to buy the tanks and buy the water. I was like, I'm not doing all that. So of course we would buy water bottles. There were times that you could not find a gallon water bottle anywhere in the country, not just in my town, not just in my village, in the country. There was a time that there was no water to be had. So we decided to rent a car, drive to the beach, drive down to Placencia, hoping that we could get some water. No go. We could not find any water, any gallon bottles of water anywhere. So of course, then you're stuck buying liter bottles of water, which were twice the price. So nightmare. And they actually have a water factory in Belize, and you still couldn't get gallon bottles of water anywhere. It was a nightmare. And that happened several times. It wasn't just a one-off. It happened to us several times. Now I'm going to wrap this video up with my craziest story of all. And that was trying to get out of that country. I think you get the idea that living in Belize is really like stepping back in time. They have a lot of things that they just don't do that are very forward thinking the way the rest of the world is. You know what I mean? So so I hate to say that, but that was my experience. The power outages, the water shortages, all the things. And I think throughout we've talked a little bit about having to get your passport stamped, right? So I had purchased the tickets to leave Belize. I can't remember, like I think sometime in October, and we got an amazing deal. It was like $450 for me and my son to get back, and we were leaving mid-January. So we were just going along, doing all the things, getting all the shipping ready. That was a big, huge nightmare to get all our boxes shipped and all the things. And in December, we needed to do another passport stamp because we needed one additional month so that we didn't go over and get stopped at the airport saying that your passport's expired or that your stamp is expired and the whole nine, right? So we went in December, got our passport stamped. We were ready to go. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking over the tickets, I'm looking over everything. And I realized that my son's passport had expired 6 months prior. And I was like, wait. But we just got it stamped. And yes, they had been stamping my son's expired passport. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And not the same person. 3 separate people had stamped his passport even though it was expired. And of course, I freaked out. We had to go to the embassy, try to figure out what we were going to do. I had to have my ex-husband sign and notarize a piece of paper authorizing to give him a um, a temporary passport to get back into the country, and that was going to take a week express. So we couldn't leave on our flight. We had to rebook our flight, and because it was past time, we had just had to eat the cost. It cost me an additional $700 to book a new flight. That was just to book a new flight. We had to pay additional to stay at our apartment. We had to pay additional food, additional electricity, all the things. Like, I was livid, livid. I'm like, how? And then I reached out to, when we got back to the States, to the head of immigration, because I found out who he was. He's like, there's nothing we can do. Sorry. Sorry. There's nothing we can do. You should have noticed. I was like, yeah, I should have noticed it. But this is their job to notice that they could sit there and look at that passport and stamp it all these times when it was expired and never said a word. And they didn't care. They had my money. So what do they care? And that is the moral of Belize. That is what Belize is all about. They just want your money. That's the bottom line. They want Americans to come in there, buy property, so they can screw you out of your money in every way that they can, whether it be building expenses, whether it be taxes, whether it be immigration, whatever. Belize just wants your money. And let me tell you something. Everything that I've said in this video, does it sound like it's worth it? Does it sound like it's worth it for you to travel to a country on vacation where you could potentially lose power? Everything is overpriced, and you're not getting value for dollar. Oh my goodness. I was so glad to get out of that country. And I wanted to wait until I was well out of the country before I made this video, obviously, for obvious reasons. But yeah, it was a absolute nightmare living there. The food shortages, the power outages, the shipping situation, the educational system, the lack of franchising, not being monetized. I mean, it was horrible, horrible, horrible. And I am definitely way over the time. I wanted this to be an hour. We're already at 90 minutes. So I want to wrap this video up. But I would love to know what your experiences of Belize are. Did you have any horrible experiences in Belize? I actually had a friend not long ago call me, and I hadn't talked to this friend in years. And he was desperately trying to reach me. So I called him, and he was like, yeah, I have a friend that just bought a property in Belize, and he's about to sell his I'm about to sell his property here in the States. And he's just he doesn't know if he wants to stay. It's a thing. It's a thing that he doesn't know. After, and he had been to Belize many, many times for many, many years. And him and his wife decided to bite the bullet and buy a property there. And they weren't there more than 3 months before they were thinking that they were done, that they were that this was not what they wanted. It wasn't what they were expecting. And I reached out to him, and he texted me back, but I forgot to read it. As far as whether they ended up coming back to the States and just using that as a rental property, or what they ended up doing with the property. But yeah, I mean, it takes very little time once you're living there. I think we were just in rose-colored glasses for the first year because we were, kind of dealing with the nightmares of everything. But the more it built up, we were done. The same thing with our friends at Maya Beach Hotel. They were there a few years and they were like, we're done, we're out. I hope they ended up selling that property. When we stayed in St. Bite, that place was also up for sale. You can find plenty of property all over Belize. It's whether you're going to stay there, live there, or if you're going to rent there, if your property is going to be rentable. So that's where that is. So my advice, just stay away from Belize. There are places that have way better beaches. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to Grand Cayman. I've been to a lot of great beaches in this world. Belize ain't it, y'all. Belize is not it. So again, I would love to know your thoughts about Belize. If you had a bad experience in Belize, or maybe you loved it. Maybe you went there on vacation and you loved it. Maybe you're a Belizean watching this and you think I'm completely off the charts. I'm just telling you what my experiences were as an American living in Belize. And that was my experiences. Again, that whole passport thing and stamping my son's passport for months with it expired, that just did me in. That just did me in. But I am going to finish this video by letting you guys know just a couple of really quick things. I do have more Belize videos coming. Tomorrow is me packing up my shoes, but it's not just about me packing my shoes. It's all about shoe maintenance and shoe repairs. I've done a video like this before as a live stream, but this was a filmed video. And this was me packing up my shoes in Belize. And so I went through what it's like to maintain your shoes, what it's like to store them, pack them, all the things. So make sure that you hit subscribe and the notification bell so that you know when that video will go up. That one is going up tomorrow at 4 p.m. It's already set. So if you check out my channel, you'll see that it's going to be going up at 4 o'clock tomorrow. But make sure you subscribe and check the community. Check my community tab. That will always let you know what videos. I still have mask in my nails. That will always let you know what videos that are going to be coming up. I also have different polls, just little greetings, little social media holiday greetings, things like that. So make sure you check out my community tab and also follow me on any of my socials. They are here on my channel. Everything is linked. If you are on a social platform, so am I. Whatever social platform you are on, I'm sure I am on it. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to say is that I do plan on changing the channel name. I am almost at 10,000 followers. Woo, woo. Thank you all for your support, and make sure that you share the videos and share my information and ask people to come and subscribe to the channel. And I'm figuring now that my channel name is not really reflecting the content. So I've got a whole new name. I'm going to have a whole new thumbnail and my new banner. I've got everything set, ready to go. It was going to go up before tonight's live, but for some unknown reason, I'm having issues with YouTube and I'm not able to make the customizations to the channel that I would like. I've already reached out to them. I already have them working on the case. So hopefully by my next live stream, you guys, you'll see the new name. We'll be announcing it all over my socials and everywhere. I'm really excited about it. Again, new thumbnail, banner, all the goods. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. This has been a great video. I hope it gave you some insight of what it is like to live in Belize, if you're going to travel to Belize. If you have any other questions about certain areas of Belize, there were some areas that I have been to that I didn't discuss, Independence and some other places. So if you have any questions about them, please make sure you drop them in the comments. I always respond to my comments when you guys leave them. And I think that's going to do it for tonight, you guys. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video. And until next time, stay fashionable. Oh wait, oh dang, I forgot to say, next week there will be no live next week. I promise. I apologize. No live next week. I've got some things going on, so there won't be a live next week. But when I do return to live, I am going to be doing a full-on demonstration on ChatGPT for us babes over 50, because I noticed that many of the babes over 50 are not into the AI. But I'm going to break it down for you guys so that it is so incredibly easy that you are going to be on board with the AI. Because if you're not on board with the AI right now, you're going to get left behind. So I'm going to be your guide to ChatGPT, how you can use it, all the features, all the apps, all the things. Yes, I might even go pro. I might even pay for the pro plan for that, but we shall see. But that's going to do it, you guys. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And until next time, stay fashionable. Bye. Also, new vlogs, new blogs, all the things coming. Check my community tab. It will be there, I swear. Have a great night, you guys. Happy Saturday. Oh, I didn't end. Good night.